Hey everybody, this is James, Strategic Business Manager at Love Admin, and you're listening to the Guided Growth Podcast, where we'll be taking you through the basics of growing your children's activity organisation with real insights and real actions you can apply to your organisation. This week, I'm with Emma from Europa Gym Centre, discussing how we can make the most of the summer holidays and holiday periods in general. Emma, welcome to our podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Let's kick off by talking about Europa Gym Centre. Tell us how it all started and the journey you guys have been on.
So, long story, I'll try and keep it sweet. My parents started Europa back in 1992, originally in a very small school hall. We, about 6 months later, moved into an old industrial building, which clearly was never designed to be a gymnastics facility. But actually, as time went on, we managed to develop the many, many rooms that it had for not just gymnastics, but additional sports as well. But, of course, the place was never really ideal for what we were trying to do. So we were forever looking to try and get out of that venue and find another venue. After 5 failed attempts over the 20 years that we were there, on the 6th attempt in the build-up to the Olympics, we came across a site that was owned by Barratt Homes. So my dad, being the talker that he was, managed to convince Barratt Homes and people from the council and people from the Olympic Committee all to sort of get involved and get behind this site that was an old industrial site, but they knocked the whole lot down, built us a purpose-built building for mainly gymnastics, but our other sports that were with us, along with a housing estate beside us, so built-in customers to start with, which was great. And we've been here since 2012 after the Olympics, where we were used as a, not gymnastics training venue, but a volleyball training venue. But because of that, it actually meant that we ended up with a bigger gym at the end of it because of the 2 courts that we had. And then we've got a lot of ancillaries as well, which cater for our many other sports that we do, from boxing to dancing to karate, jiu-jitsu, you name it. We're sort of like the local sports centre that do all the sports that aren't in a sports centre, for want of a better way of putting it, to be quite honest. And that's kind of really our story. The reason we kind of are known more than anything is back when we was at Fraser Road in our old venue, was my parents sold their house, basically. We moved in as a family into the venue, so it became this massive human interest story, and hence how my dad ended up running with the torch in 2012, or 2011 it would have been, I should say, and they had OBEs awarded to them. So yeah, it's been a massively long journey that I've tried to condense very quickly into that little brief synopsis for you. But yeah, it's we've gone through the mill to end up with what is essentially a really, really, really good building.
Yeah, no, I think that's such an amazing journey to get where you've got to, and I'm sure there's been a lot of learnings along the way, and certainly we're keen to sort of help in that next chapter for you guys. So, focusing now more in on that holiday period, we all know about how important that is in terms of boosting your revenue and helping to grow, but. Talk to me a little bit first about the challenges that you face over the summer holiday period in terms of organising activities and getting something going that's going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, the summer, notoriously, especially for gymnastics club, is always harder. And people always say, "Oh, isn't that weird? Because the children are off holiday, so there should be more customers, not less." But then most of them aren't here; they are on holiday. So trying to keep things going, we don't close our regular classes. We do run throughout the year. So we do run holiday discount schemes and things, but our actual additional stuff we do to make up that loss of income from our regular classes, we do anything from holiday fun clubs to gymnastic camps to actual camps where they sleep over for 2 or 3 nights. We've got put on multiple extra play sessions. It is a tough time, the summer, and you have to kind of be preparing, I should say, the rest of the year for that period that can potentially, if you're not ready for it, be a bit of a problem.
And what would you say out of the bits you mentioned? Obviously, it can be really, really busy having to try and organise all of those activities that aren't your sort of standard classes. What's the biggest challenge in making sure that period's successful?
Partly the staff. I mean, our staff are all employed, so they are contracted to hours. I mean, of course, during the summer we might change them hours a little bit to get them in, but partly the staff. But actually, we found pre-COVID it was actually a lot harder than it is now. Now people seem to do it, but I think the one big thing that we changed that actually made it better was that we do it all by pre-booking only. I think back before when we would do anything where it was, turn up on the door, you didn't know, one, what was coming, and two, if anyone was coming. Well, at least now, if you can see that something's selling really well, you can add on extra ones of those. Or if you can see something's not selling, you can switch it for something that you know is selling well. That, to me, has been the biggest change since COVID. And COVID kind of forced our hand with that, with the whole, everything that we all had to do regulation-wise re-COVID and how many people we could have in the building at a time. So I would say that is probably the outlining really good part of what happened during COVID is it forced us into that line of doing things. And we literally don't do anything now unless it's pre-booked. We don't do a single activity that's not a pre-booked session. So that is, I would say single-handedly, that's the most important thing because, like I say, if you can see something really isn't selling, you can switch it up for something that you know will, and vice versa.
Yeah, I think certainly I'd agree in terms of taking that early approach to the summer holidays and not waiting until the first week of August to look to see whether something is successful, and starting getting things live on whichever booking system you're using from sort of end of May, June time. I think is really, really important in giving you that early oversight. In terms of the challenges that you still have, so do you have any sort of bits that you think are kind of unresolved? So in terms of the staffing, do you find that's still an issue, or do you think that now you've broadly got that under control?
I think it will always be an issue because actually what we can offer, I don't have enough staff for. So we're forever trying to find staff. And what the problem is, again, is during COVID, we obviously had to let staff go. And the majority of the staff that we did let go were those younger coaches at the time that were just about to do their first or second qualification. So unfortunately, because we took the sort of, well, we'll look after the ones that are higher qualified and that do have bills and mortgages and things to pay. We did make redundant the youngsters. We've actually now lost that group of kids that would be now our run of main coaches for your summer things. And the other thing that comes with the younger coaches is because they don't necessarily have kids themselves, they're not restricted to having their holidays in the summer. So you're forever juggling, not making the youngsters do too much because they're very keen to obviously get overtime or do anything extra. But in the same breath, you want to make sure you've got your better coaches as well. So you're constantly trying to play that juggling act between enough staff, the right staff, and not putting them through the mill too much in those 5 to 6 weeks of the summer when we do still have our regular programs in the evening. And obviously we'd have other staff on holiday that they potentially could be covering then as well. So it is a real juggling act with the staff during the summer. I think, obviously every year throws its challenges. I think the year of 2022 was horrendous because we had everyone that had lost their holidays in 2020 and 2021 all taking that holiday in 2022. And that resulted in us having to sort of, as a family, intervene and get some loans out and do to cover the summer period because it was horrible. But actually now we're pretty much on top of it, and our summer is actually already planned, so we're already on top of it.
Yeah, I think that planning piece, as we've said, is really, really important. And one suggestion I'd potentially give around the staffing piece, and obviously there is this massive sort of labour gap where development of good quality instructors or coaches or teachers was sort of stalled during COVID. But now we're sort of out the other side of that. I would say building a development pathway as an inherent part of your business, I think, is really, really important, because not only does it give somebody a next step. So if they're in your standard gymnastic sessions and they're getting to the end of that pathway, they're getting to the end of the sort of stereotypical children's gymnastics, they're looking for their next thing, they're going to college or whatever. Actually, they could fall off the end of the treadmill in terms of their involvement with you guys, but actually they're the ones that are completely ingratiated into the culture and into the way of running things that you guys have always had. Yeah. So I think building a really effective development pathway and saying to these people, well, actually, there's hours here for you to coach. We'll train you, give you extra qualifications, extra skills, transferable skills as well in terms of being able to control a group of rowdy kids and that type of thing, and really develop them into the people that can then run those summer activities. It can also be, on the flip side, an extra bit of revenue generation for you, because you can charge for that, because you're going to give people a qualification, you're going to give people skills to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, what we did, even pre-COVID, we used to follow the British Gymnastics Young Leaders scheme, which is a bit like the Duke of Edinburgh sort of scheme, which worked really well. But again, we had that gap. So funnily enough, literally yesterday, we had a meeting about 3 that had just come into the end of their young leadership bit. And it's like, are they ones that we actually want to coach? And to be honest with you, they're really good. And they've been through the whole system from a very young age right the way through. They were some of our very first early young leaders. They're already at every single event we do. They're at the gym most nights. So yeah, there's 3 that we're just about to send off for their first qualification, and we've actually got another 3 next year that are genuinely 3 of the best coaches I've ever seen. And they're, bless them, they're only 16 at the minute, but they are outstanding. And you kind of think, oh, actually, yeah, we have had a rocky time in this bit in the middle from COVID to now. But when we can see what the kids that are coming up behind, that, you know, whichever way you look at it, to have been involved in the sport definitely helps coach the sport, whatever level they've been at. But yeah, the young leadership program is kind of going to be our saviour. I think we were very, very, very conscious of not just putting job adverts out after COVID and accepting anyone that walked through the door. We kind of really wanted to make sure it's someone that still fitted in with our family philosophy and the way that our business is run. And yeah, we could have employed higher level coaches and things, but actually, to be perfectly honest with you, the way that the venue is now and the way that the business is now since COVID, we thought that actually it was more important to put our emphasis into these youngsters and do really what you've just said, like we've kind of pulling them through. My thoughts are in the future, though, that we possibly may switch it to doing it in our own way of doing it and not through the young leadership program with British Gymnastics, because we've actually got some quite good ideas. And the man of one of our staff that's been running the young leaders program, Ben, his ideas are amazing. So I think that we might even find our own way of doing it as opposed to following the British Gymnastics one, because it can be a little bit restrictive with regards to at the end when they need to find those final things to pass. We're having to sort of rely on them to do it, whereas if we did it our own way, we would. I think that the kids might get a bit more success quicker.
Yeah, and I think as these things develop, creating something bespoke in house will better serve the needs that you have. So I'd certainly recommend that as a future development from there. So sort of carrying on a little bit from talking about staff, particularly again over that summer holiday period, how do you engage staff and parents to commit to booking, running, attending the sessions over that summer period?
It's a good question. I mean, with regards to the staff, so like I said earlier, the most of them are committed to their hours, so we jig their hours a bit, and they're there. We do obviously offer overtime for anyone that's covering anything extra, and we also do for our senior coaches and our better coaches. They can do one-to-one classes. And with the one-to-one classes, we do charge £50 for our one-to-one classes for the hour, and we split the money between the coach and the venue. So that's a good way of getting them involved. But I would only do that with the better coaches because it's such an intensive hour for them to do with the child. But to be honest with you, it's from the staffing point of view, the summer is tough, and it is hard to engage them. So I'm kind of, I do hear a lot from other clubs who don't have their staff fully employed, who are self-employed, who quite often they don't have staff during the summer, hence why a lot of clubs are closed during the summer, because they can't get their staff to commit. So even though, like in every business, we have our staffing issues, actually I think we're pretty lucky because the majority of them are pretty committed to the venue and the business and are behind us. With regards to the parents, again, I think it's hard to say. I think going back to that pre-booking, that early pre-booking, parents are, I feel now, even more worried to let their child down and not have them be missing out on something because the space is already full. So we do tend to find that as soon as we put something out, it does sell out pretty quickly. We're in the middle of preparing our club competition, which happens at the beginning of July, and that closes on Monday. And I guarantee it doesn't matter how much stuff we send out on Tuesday, there'll be the odd person that rings up and go, "Oh, I haven't done it. Can you get me in?" But everything to do with that pre-booking, I think, is what's important now. And I think the fact that they're actually parting with their cash before the event means that they do turn up. Like I said before, when they were just turning up on the day, if the sun's shining, they're not going to come in. So, yeah, I think that pre-booking has actually made the difference, to be honest. I think that's where the commitment comes from.
Yeah, I certainly don't disagree with that at all. In terms of getting people committed and booked in. I think actually, just to sort of expand on what you said and perhaps give you some sort of additional ideas for things that can help in the future, you can actually engage staff and parents in one fell swoop through incentivizing your staff. So if you've got staff that
Yep.
are running regular sessions that are also going to be taking on a particular summer session, then incentivize them to fill up their summer classes through referrals and speaking to parents who are in their normal classes.
Yep.
Your coaches and instructors are often like the people that are right on the front line and build the best relationships with your customers. So if you can get them having some skin in the game to really go out and drive those sessions rather than just your email marketing or your social media marketing, and that could be something like performance related pay, and that's a very grand term, but it can mean something as simple as if your class is full, we'll pay you £20 for the session. If your class is only three quarters full, we'll pay you £17.50 for the session, and if it's only half full, we'll pay you £12 for the session. And really encourage them to drive those bookings through.
That's a good idea.
Um,
That's a really good
and
idea.
then you get your staff and your parents at the same time, because your staff are going to go out and get the parents in and get them booked.
Yeah, no, it's a really good idea. I think because especially before our sole priority would have been our elite gymnasts, and the summer period was, the gym was an empty gym, so they could all train and have that time to, it was brilliant for our elite kids because they had that time, and we would kind of do everything we could just to tick over paying the bills. But since COVID and the whole change in our venue and our business, I think we've just not really been in the financial position to do that before. But actually, it's a perfect, we can see from our one-to-one lessons, like I said earlier, where we're paying them quite a bit of money to do that lesson. It clearly works, and it really, you kind of, sometimes you have to take a step outside the box, don't you, to look back in and think, actually, yeah, I wonder if that didn't sell because of that. So yeah, that is a really good idea, and I'll take that one on board. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's all about looking at different ways and applying things from different walks of life to see whether they can make a difference. And I think really getting out early with a really simple, compelling summer plan that parents can easily understand, and being the first to the party as such, because kids only have a limited amount of time and energy during the summer with which to do activities, and if a swimming school or a football academy or something else gets in there first and gets their attention, gets their impulse, they're going to tug on mum or dad's sleeve and say, I want to do this, and they'll be there, and then they'll book it, and then it's done. And then it doesn't matter how good your sessions are, if you're not there in time, then
I totally agree. Yeah,
then you're gone, and you won't be able to get all of that opportunity. The earlier you do it as well, the more chance you've got of those referrals that we spoke about. So I really think tying the two together and getting everything up and running nice and early is really the two most important things to
yeah, definitely
take advantage of, because it really is a massive opportunity out there. And I always, and I know we've had this discussion already, Emma, say that whatever you take on an average month should become your target for your summer holidays. You shouldn't see any dip in cash flow. And that doesn't mean that you, and I've seen this happen in a lot of organizations where they say, okay, well, in order to do that, then I will bill people monthly for 12 months of the year, even though our regular sessions only run for 39 or 36 weeks. Well, that's actually not the right mentality to have if you want to grow your business and really make the most of summer holidays. Charge people for the lessons in the month they're having them, for your regular classes in term time. But then outside of that, get that extra 20% from your summer activities, and then effectively get an extra month worth of revenue coming in. And if you start with that goal and work back from there, then planning your summer activities become much easier, because you go, okay, well, on a typical month we make X £1,000. Therefore, during August we need to make X £1,000. Well, what do we need to do, and at what price does that need to be, and then what staff do we need from there? And I think that helps to keep things really, really simple as well. So moving on now to more of the sort of marketing element of it all. How do you find marketing your summer activities compared to your regular sessions? Do you find it more difficult, easier?
Do you know what? It's a really funny question because we literally were talking the other day, and it was like, do you know what? We are actually so bad at doing this because we've always had a waiting list for our regular classes. We kind of got rested a little bit on our morals, so we kind of wasn't like pushing out. Because what we're going to do, if we advertise the gymnastics, you're just making the waiting list bigger, more people moaning they can't get in. So we kind of stepped back over the last few years a bit. And when it comes to the summer or any holiday and we're doing stuff, yeah, it is all email and a bit of social media, obviously. But we're actually really bad at it. So it is something that over the last sort of 6 months or so, we've been trying to look at and work out exactly what we're going to do. But yeah, I mean, from the point of view of our regular marketing, I'm going to be honest, is rubbish. Like we so need to do a better job with that. But in the summer, we have got a lot better, I think, over the last year or so at like every holiday coming up, getting ourselves ready. Like I say, we're already pre-done for the summer. The summer stuff's ready to launch. It'll actually go out next week. The only reason it's taken us a little bit longer this time to what we did last year is because we are doing a complete change of classes in August. So we not kind of need to make sure that we could actually feel what our regular program is before we could work out who we had for the summer. But actually, the second we go in approaching a holiday now, we're already saying what we're doing next holiday and monitoring that holiday to see what we're going to do. But from the marketing point of view, I have to be really honest, we are rubbish. We really don't do the greatest job at marketing. We're on it from the point of view of, sending the stuff out and leaflets, etc., etc. But that's to the people that are here. We're really rubbish at promoting ourselves outwards, which we really do need to do a better job of. So I'm hoping you'll be able to help us with that in the future. But yeah, it's not our forte. Let's put it that way. We have not been the greatest at it, but we're getting there. But we'll do it a lot better when you help us, I'm sure.
I do think it's a really common thing, but particularly with busy gymnastics clubs where you have waiting lists, where there isn't that pressure for your regular sessions to market intensively. But I think with your summer sessions where it's such a short, sharp blast, that intensity definitely exists, and you can kind of use that to spur you on with the rest of your activity as well. I always believe strongly in the human element of marketing. I don't believe massively in the impact of emails. I mean, if I were to look on my personal email account now, I know I've got 5,000 unread emails because I've ended up subscribed to everything I've ever bought. What that means is I now read none of them. And I'm sure busy parents have exactly the same, if not worse. So how you engage people in that needs to be different. Obviously, there is the power of social media as well, which can be an excellent organic way of marketing things and can really build a community. But I think people don't make the most of their existing customers and using those as a tool to go out and get new ones.
Definitely.
I really like the approach of using your brand to get out into your local community. So a really simple thing that I would encourage a lot of children's activity organisations to do, and I think it can work really, really nicely for the summer, is branded merchandise. So if someone books for a full week of whatever summer activity it is you're running, and they book at the end of May, nice and early, instead of giving them an early bird discount, which is what so many organisations do, and it's just throwing money down the drain, give them a branded T-shirt or a branded drawstring bag or a branded pencil case or something that's got your logo or something to do with your organisation plastered all over it. Obviously, it's got to look good and got to be something that someone's actually going to use. But then they're going to go into school the next day with that bag on their back, or they'll get that pencil case out or water bottle or whatever. And you can have it tailored towards a summer activity, and then naturally that will perk up other kids' attention.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Because there's that fear of missing out amongst children is absolutely massive. And if they see that their mate has got a really cool new thing that's got your logo on it, they're going to want it.
That's a really good idea. Funnily enough, we have always done our own stuff. Like we've got our own heat press and cutting machine, so we do all of our own kit. All of the kit that we sell to our staff kit and the stuff that we sell is all done in house. And we've literally just done a brand new catalogue. So thinking about it, that summer idea is amazing. That's a really good one to do. Like especially like you say, don't offer the early bird discount, which we do fall into that trap of doing. The merch, that is a really good one that I'll definitely take on board.
Yeah, I think the pitfalls of an early bird discount is that from day one, you're telling people that the standard price isn't actually the price because you're already willing to do it at a
Yeah.
cheaper price. So it just degrades the value that you're
No, it's
putting
really good.
on that
Yeah.
activity. And then when it goes back to the standard price, you'll often find there's more of a drop off at that point of people wanting to buy it because they know it's been cheaper before. So why would I want to pay more? Because clearly you can charge less for it. So therefore that must be the actual value. So I much prefer giving more value rather than reducing price. And value has got a stereotype of only being related to price. Like if you look at what used to be the Tesco value range, that used to always be the cheapest food. But value doesn't necessarily need to mean that. So something can have a healthy price point but still be value for money because of what you provide. So I would always say if you can provide more but keep your price the same, it's a much stronger position to be in because cutting prices is just a race to the bottom, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Definitely, that is definitely something that I'll take on board. That is a really, really good idea, and it's so stupid, seeing as we've done it for so like had our own stuff and way to do it for so long that we haven't thought of that ourselves. But yeah, no, that's a brilliant idea. Thanks, James.
I think particularly over the summer, you can do some really nice stuff. And it plays into everything else that we've said around timing, getting it up early, because you want the kids to go back into school. You want to create that almost guerrilla marketing campaign of
Yeah,
almost sort of like a flash mob of in a sense where you're going to get all of your current customers signed up. If they join by the end of May, they're going to
yeah,
get this bag with a water bottle and a t-shirt in it. It's going to cost you about £3 per child to
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Then they're going to go into school with all that stuff. It's going to be the sports day, and they're going to have all of that stuff, and they're going to see all of their friends with all that stuff as well. And if there are people without that, they go, "Oh,
yeah,
where did you get that? What are you guys all going to do? Oh, we're all going to go down to Europa
yeah,
because they've got this summer
yeah,
activity for whatever it is. I want to be a part of that." And then they'll go and
yeah,
tug on mum or dad's sleeve at the end of the day. And, "Oh, can you put me onto that? Can you put me onto that? I really can't miss it." And there's nothing more compelling
yeah.
than a moaning child.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've got two.
Exactly. It's your absolute best marketing tool is the power of the child, basically. Yes, they're not the people that put their hand in their wallet and pay, but they're pretty darn convincing when it comes to making sure that mum and dad or granny or granddad make that buying decision for you. So I think for summer particularly, you want to make it seem really, really compelling. It's all about fun.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
shouldn't feel, and this is where I try and steer organisations away from doing a week or a 2 week long camp in some cases, because unless you're really committed
Yeah,
to an activity,
it goes down. Yeah,
you don't want to commit to that period of time, and it starts to feel like school a little bit. It becomes an extension of school, and to my mind, summer holiday activities really shouldn't be. I remember back to when I was a child, and they should feel fun. It should be like, oh my god, I'm not at school and I'm doing all of this
yeah,
stuff, and I wouldn't normally
yeah,
be allowed to do all this stuff at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday.
definitely.
And this is all really exciting. And I really want to come back
Yeah,
and do more stuff. You want them coming back for more rather than going, oh, thank God that's over. Because then when next
yeah.
summer comes around, then they're not going to want to engage
They're
again.
not coming back. Yeah,
And also from a price point perspective, it's a really big barrier to entry. If you say, oh, well, a week is £200. Well, if they're paying for other childcare through the summer as well, you've got to remember that
yeah,
all of those activities have got to come out of 1 month's paycheck, really, or maybe 2 months' paycheck. And if you're saying a week is £200, but then they've got 4 other weeks that they've got to fill with activities for their child, they may only be able to get a week off of work during the summer
yeah,
or something like that, then I think you've got to price it appropriately so that you can say, okay, well, it's £30 for a day or £20 for a day. You can book multiple days, and maybe
yeah,
that's where you can then
yeah,
give a sort of volume based discount. If you book for 5 days, we'll give you some money off to encourage them coming in. But that initial entry point, getting someone booked in, is at quite a low price point because you can actually fill a week of sessions easier by having 5 different groups of 10 people than a group
yeah.
of 10 people all willing to pay the same thing
Exactly. Yeah.
across the whole week.
I mean, we spent many years, especially back at the old venue, where we would do like the 9 to 5 holiday camp thing, and back in the day, it'd be me and my brother, for instance, and others that would have done it. And by the end of that 6 weeks, not only were you exhausted, but the kids that were there the whole time were bored of what you were doing. So I totally appreciate what you're saying, and that's why we've tried to really change up what the camps that we do. We kind of offer in a different type of camp every day of the week, or something, so they can, for instance, if it's a free running one, they can sign up to that, but the next day it might be a tumble one. The free runners might actually want to do that as well, because tumbling's a big part of it. So it's trying to work out what sort of the right wording as well with the kids can quite often be quite a big concern as to what you're doing. And again, especially with the boys, what they've got to wear, we're kind of much less restrictive as to the normal classes. We're much more free on what they can come along in. And like you say, it's just got to be fun in the summer. The summer is all about them having fun, isn't it? And not being sat in that classroom like they normally would be. So it's the merch idea is a really good idea. We're definitely going to take that on board.
Cool, sounds great, and I'm really excited to see what impact hopefully that makes for you guys. So that's all we've got time for in this episode of Guided Growth. Thank you very much, Gemma, for giving us some fantastic insights in just how easy it can be to make a real difference, particularly around that summer holiday period, and how you can really look to grow your business and not have that as a real scary period financially.
Thank you, James, as well. Thank you for your ideas. It's been just as if not more helpful for me than it has been for us given to you. So I've really enjoyed doing it. Thank you so much.
No problem at all. So please make sure you subscribe to our Step to Success podcast to get more guided growth tips each and every month, and check out loveadmin.com/step2success for more information about how our one-to-one growth consultation service can help you to grow your organisation. Thanks for listening. See you next time.